Tokyo Story, Tokyo Story. This is a pretty depressing film, but that doesn't mean it ain't great. Hello there, Nate Jackson, Criterion Collection Reviewer Guy here, number 217. Yasuhiro's Ozu's Tokyo Story, Tokyo Monogatari. I think that's Ozu. We'll just call him Ozu. It's easier to pronounce his first name. Yasuhiro. Oh man, what an emotional heartbreak. It gets you here. This one got you here. My brother Josh had told me about this one. When I mentioned this one, if he were here, he would have he probably would have done this one with me, but he moved away, so I'm off to watch this heart wrench by myself, and yeah, it's a trip and a half. 1953, 136 minutes Japanese, and this one, I can understand why people, this is considered one of the greatest films ever, because but we'll talk about, I'll explain that later. Let me give you the plot. Let me give you the whole plot of the film. So, our main characters are an older couple named Shukichi and Tomi, and they live in a little village in Japan, and they live with they have 4 children. They live with their youngest daughter, Kyoto. And she still goes to school and all that. And they decide to, Tomi and Shukichi decide to pay their older children a visit. And so they go out, they live in Tokyo. And so they make the trek up and they go to visit them. And they find out that their children basically have absolutely like little to no time to spend with them. All they do is all they're concerned about is work, and they're concerned about just keeping their grandparents entertained by not having to entertain them themselves. They send them off to like a spa and out on a sightseeing tour and all that. And the one who does most of this, who takes care of them, is Noriko, who is their second son, their third son, Shoji, who died in the war. Noriko is a widower, and she really enjoys spending time with them, and she because she doesn't really have anything else to do, she spends time with them, and she bonds with them the most. Shige, their eldest daughter, has a salon. And at one point, Shukichi goes out and gets drunk and brings a friend home to their salon and just kind of wreaks havoc there, and so she's kind of really resents she tries not to resent their being there, but even Tomi, her mother, they kind of just come and go when they want, and they don't, and they try to understand, but at the same time they realize that they need some place to stay, and they want to stay with their kids, and their grandchildren don't want to spend any time with them. One of their grandsons is really concerned when they have to sleep when the mother I think it's Fumiko, moves his desk to another room because the grandparents have to live there, and he's like, where am I gonna study? I gotta get my GED and my PhD and all that. This dude's a bookworm, I guess, and throwing stuff and all that, and so it's kind of sad, that they have brats for kids, but there you are. Look at the children that they had. Look at father like son, like mother like mother like son, whatever. But anyway, so yeah, they're really upset, and they have 5. Oh wait, they have 5 children. I forgot about Keizo. Keizo is I think another. He's like a lawyer or something like that. I don't remember exactly what he does. But yeah, he spends little to no time with them. But yeah, anyway, so, Shukichi and Tomi are kind of disillusioned by this. At the same time, Noriko kind of, gets the most out of them, and spends the most time with them and all that. And so they go back to they go back home, and on the way, Tomi gets sick, and by the time they get back home, she's on her deathbed. I think at one point she falls into a coma, and so they send telegrams out to their children, who rush down to the to visit with Shuichi and Tomi. And when they pass, their tears are wept. However, quickly afterwards, I think it's Fumiko or I forget who it was, Fumiko or Shige, just, almost instantly, about 5 minutes after he passes, she asks about Tomi's this rap. Like, they want her clothing, they want, like, oh, can I have this? Can I have that? And they leave, like, quick after the funeral. They just get back to their lives, with Noriko the only one, staying behind to take care of Shukichi. And because of that, he gives her a watch that Tomi had, and she just breaks down and cries because she deems herself no better than them. She's a really selfish person and all that. And it's funny because the whole film, she is just all smiles. She's just really just the most nicest person. It's a little creepy, but at the same time, it's just I think it's just her putting up a brave front. She lost her husband in the war and all that, and she's just trying to be the nicest person. But it is until this point where she just kind of finally just falls apart and lets her guard down and just balls in front of Shukichi. And it's one of probably the saddest moment in the film, because it's just this moment where you realize that you think you're better than everybody else, but no, you're just like everything. Just you're no better. You are no better. And Shukichi just still says, you're still the greatest. Even though you're not a blood relative, you're still the one who did the most for us. So just feel good about it. You're okay. And so Noriko finally leaves back on the train, and she smiles at the end of the film, I think, and that's how it ends. Kyoto and Shukichi, just live by themselves now. And yeah, that's basically the plot. It's a fantastic film. It's very sad. I get why people like this one. And here's the thing. And I'm comparing it just because the last movie we saw was The Rules of the Game. I'm comparing it to that one. The Rules of the Game is really a place and time movie. And I don't care. I mean, you're probably going to disagree with me, but I really feel it is a place and time movie. The class things, it's a very place and time. This story could be adapted to any culture, the Tokyo story. It's not something that has to be done in like post-war Japan. It could have been done today. It's like, the story of children being too busy for their aging grandparents. I mean, their parents, and not, and then once they die, like they want to pay their respects, but they just want to get back to their lives as well. It makes perfect sense. And because of that, you could adapt that. It's something that, everybody, I think like people can connect with. It's a much better film that people can connect with than Rules of the Game. So I can understand personally from a personal point, my parents, having, trying to spend time with them and all, it's tricky, and when they want to spend time with me. So there's that, but then also, but like Rules of the Game, I'm just like, there are all these people who just want to have sex with each other. That's all it is, It's like I couldn't get into it, the way I could with Tokyo Story. So yeah, it's just a more culturally defining movie. I don't know how to describe it. It just makes more sense. It's more universal. It's got more universal themes than the Rules of the Game. So because of that, I understand and I can get behind why this is one of the greatest films of all time. So yeah, great film. and I'm gonna give it an A. Give it an A for excellence. A for excellence. I'm gonna remember that. Anyway, so that's Tokyo Story. That's almost disc one. Disc one also has the trailer, a 4-minute trailer. I'm like, wow. The first thing you see is the final scenes with Noriko crying, and I'm like, well, that's spoiler alert. Gosh, you know. Then I guess trailers are different, you know. But the only two supplements are on disc 2. There is a 2-hour documentary called I Lived But, which was done in 1983, 20 years after Ozu had died. And it's basically just life and death of just the entire 2-hour documentary about Ozu, documenting all his films. And the title apparently is based on a bunch of films he did, and I'm going to look them up right now. He did a bunch of stories like I Was Born But, I Graduated But, I Went to College But, I Flunked But. That's the other one. No, I didn't went to college. I Was Born But, I Graduated But, I Flunked But, and I guess that's it. Yeah, those are the only ones he did. So yeah, so it's an interesting title, and it's basically just they talk about him, all the films. Of course, they talk about Tokyo Story, and they talk about the other films that we're gonna see in the Criterion collection, such as I think Early Spring is one. Gosh, I don't remember because yeah, I just wanted to look. And but it's funny, I don't remember anything about Good Morning, because we've seen Good Morning, and that was our first little touch with Ozu. But they did talk mostly about Early Spring and the early films. I think they talked about Floating Weeds, which we'll see in a couple weeks, actually, funny enough. Sooner than later, we're going to get to Floating Weeds. Early Summer, which we'll also see later. Probably by December, we'll get to Floating Weeds. I mean, by Early Summer. Late Spring, which we won't get till next year. And An Autumn Afternoon, which was his last film, and that's number 446, so that'll be for 2 years from now. And then, then we've got quite a few more Ozu ones. Only, like I said, only 2 more this season. But we've got some more. I'm looking at the list right now. 2 films by Yasuhiro Ozu, The Only Son, There Was a Father. Is that it? Yeah, those are the only ones. So, yeah, so we've got some more Ozu, and most of those are mentioned. I remember most of those are mentioned. I think There Was a Father was mentioned in the I Lived But. So yeah, it's again, this is one of those everything you always wanted to know about Ozu and never asked kind of things. So it's probably the best documentary on Ozu out there. And then 10 years later, they produced there was a 40-minute tribute produced called Talking with Ozu on the eve of his 90th birthday. And it has just a bunch of directors who talk about his films and how they've influenced him. Stanley Kwan, Aki Kaurismäki, Claire Denis, Lindsay Anderson, Paul Schrader, Wim Wenders, and Ho Hoi-Sien. Not sure how to pronounce that. But yeah, they spend about 5 minutes each talking about it, and it's pretty interesting. And yeah, that's the supplements. So, Tokyo Story, not a bad film. I mean, a great film. I can get behind the hype. It's good. A. And I'm just gonna put that down. I'm not gonna throw that. No. That's it. It deserves a little more respect than that. So anyway, that's it for today. Tomorrow, Le Secret Rouge. Another 4 hour, even longer than, just a smidgen longer than Tokyo Story, but probably with enough supplements to pack, but this one's out of print too, so lucky to get this one. Then Saturday, Fellini's La Strada, and then next week is almost all planned out. We got Naked Lunch, Ikiru, and then I just got Diary of a Country Priest. Woohoo. And then my Trise, I have ordered from my local video store. It's in. I'm going to buy it tomorrow, and I'll sell it right after I get it. And then we'll be right into November. I'm going to be out of town the first week of November. However, I will be here on Monday the 2nd for Pick Up on South Street. That'll be our first review of November, but our only review that week. So, but after that, we'll get right back into it. Let's see which one. What have we got? What have we got coming up? We've got. Let's see. Looking at the list here. What have we got? That'll be number 224. Pick Up on South Street, and then next week after that, we'll do Tunes of Glory by Raul Neem, Oni Baba by Kaneto Shindo, Le Corbeau by Henry Georges Clouseau. Right on. I love me some Clouseau. And Salvador Giuliano by Francesco Rosi. And then Bergman. Oh, God, more Bergman. Scenes from a Marriage. Ingmar Bergman. And then Three Women by Robert Altman. The Testament of Dr. Mabuse. Yes, I'm waiting for that one. And then Ozu. And then 3 Saturdays from now, we'll back to Ozu. Story of Floating Weeds and Floating Weeds. So, and then, and then we got Kurosawa, Stray Dogs, Tin Drum, Leopard, Mama Rosa, Smiles of Summer Night. Oh, God, more Bergman! Quit with the Bergman! Criterion, Jesus Christ, you have all your friggin' life to release every Bergman film ever. Just stop. Just stop, please. Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you for watching. Hug your parents, because you don't know when they're going to go. Spend time with your parents. Don't be selfish. Try to just enjoy your family. Spend time with your family. And, and if they pass, don't ask for their clothing. It's just be kind about it, And, let's just try to love each other a little bit more than, find time for each other, because time is so precious on this earth. And, yeah, that's it for me. Thank you for watching, and we will see you tomorrow for Le Cercle Rouge. And until then, goodbye.